entire system is surrounded by
freaking idiots. Surrounded by them. Idiots.
2019, right before shit hit the fan.
Oh,
boy,
man.
right before everything changed.
Bruh.
Well, I want to start it off. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the SBI Podcast. Today, from swagger to Grey's Anatomy and The Rookie, he brings depth to every role. A Bronx native, actor, musician, and coach. He's all about storytelling and growth. Please welcome Mr. Sean Anthony Baker.
What's up, brother?
How you feeling, brother?
I feel great, man. I feel great. I feel blessed. I'm happy to see you. Really happy to see you.
So this all happened organically.
Yes,
we
please.
literally, we were just talking about it. The first time we worked together was 2019.
2019.
Doing an episode of FBI.
Yep.
Where you were my Suge Knight of a record label owner, and I was, Mr. I pop all this shit, but I'm not really about it. Yeah. Pretty good synopsis. And man, it was literally right before the pandemic, right before the shit hit the fan, literally, and before everybody was in their houses. And I remember because I moved into this place top of December of 2019.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So right before I went out there, I had just gotten this spot.
Boom.
And so, but then I was just working on an episode of Lincoln Lawyer, and I'm at the the craft service table for breakfast. I hear somebody, "Hey, excuse me, brother, let me get by." I turn around, and it's this fool. And I'm like, "Yo!" I told you I had seen his name on the call sheet, but I was like, "Well, nah, he on these. Nah, I
can't be the same."
Well, when brother's working, of course it's the same. What?
True.
And then I've been watching you on Swagger, just doing looping and all that. Like, it's just like, it was bound to happen again either way.
Absolutely.
It was bound to happen.
Absolutely.
Again,
I just didn't know it was going to happen in this way, and not even on this show.
Right.
I didn't know what to expect coming on this show, but it's been beautiful. It's been great.
Man, amazing group of people, amazing cast. We had an amazing director. Yeah.
Love Jen. Yeah.
It was.
Shout out to casting.
Yeah. Oh, shout out, Mrs. Wendy O'Brien.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yes. We appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And also, Sons of Anarchy, incredible. Incredible. Listen, bro.
Monster. But no, listen, I like I said, I saw you and I'm like, this is going to be great. This is going to be one of those experiences because every time that we've worked together, and every time like we've been working together for series, but I watched this brother, and it's been a blessing to see you always, man. So
thank you, man.
I was like, I saw you there. I was like, oh, I got fam on this show. I'm going to be good. I ain't know nobody else. No, I know my man Tremaine was on here and I was like, okay, so good people. All right. But still, that's the way I approach life, but also the business. I stay open, man. I'm open and receptive to all good. I go into a situation, I'm not really sure how it's going to pan out, but I know I'm present and I'm here. That's what I can account for.
Yeah, I mean, and that's all you can do, and know that I'm present. I'm here. I did my work. Yeah. I'm ready to work.
Yeah,
and hopefully these people could meet me halfway. You know what I mean?
That's the hope, right? That's all you can hope for, right? Yeah, I'm gonna be here though. But
so tell me, my knowledge of you goes back to obviously 2019,
right?
But so I know this didn't just happen then.
Right. It didn't just happen, just pop up in 2019.
Oh man, he just grown and shit. So where did your love for acting come from, or the arts in general? What was it like growing up in New York? What you can start from the beginning.
Well, it started one day in 1970. No, thunderstorms everywhere. But no, I honestly enough, I always give honor and praise to my mom and my dad, who are now my ancestors watching over. But I got the love for the arts from them.
Okay.
My father was heavily into music, so he was a DJ.
Nice.
So he played everything. So being a musician, being an artist, music was just in the household. You know what I mean? And but he also loved film. He loved watching classic film. Okay. I mean, outside of, my father's from Guyana, he's from those at the Guyanese, big up, St. Kitts, big up, so Caribbean massive. But my father loved westerns. I don't know what it is with Caribbean and westerns. They just love watching a western. But he was watching westerns, but then also he would watch these classic films, and he knew he wasn't into film. He wasn't. I mean, he wasn't an actor. He wasn't anything, you know, of that nature. But he appreciated watching, especially Sidney Poitier, who became my mentor in my head. He just loved. He had an affinity for classic films, and he knew the names. He knew the awards they received. Oh wow! He knew when they first started. I'm like, why do you know this stuff? But
and before Wikipedia.
Before Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Like, what was the Wikipedia? I mean, we had encyclopedia. That's the age I come from.
Listen, brother, I caught the tail end of all of it. It was like I was the era where that stuff got phased out. Like these new kids don't even know. We had the encyclopedias downstairs. Okay. And we
would fill half of this room right now.
Literally. and then you were expected to buy new ones every year. We didn't.
Yeah. We didn't.
No, we didn't at all.
No. We at a certain time there was like, this it's expensive. You said you don't want chicken tonight.
We got some.
Yeah, we got some. We good. Thank you. But my father he just knew. He had the information and he just loved it, and he watched classic film. My mother loved plays when she got introduced to plays and Broadway plays, Broadway musicals specifically. Oh, wow. So I was watching my first Broadway play I watched was Serafina, and as a kid I'm looking at this and going, what is this? And they're dancing around and singing, but then they're crying emotionally. I'm feeling something. I'm like, what is this? But I also knew I want to do that. Wow. That's what I want to do, and so that opened up my mind and my world. But altogether, and sometimes people will ask me, what do you love more, or what came first? And I was like, really, it just came together, simultaneously. I had the music and the arts was just there. Right. As a child, my first, kid play was Chorus Line. But again, that's New York for you, and that's, I'm out here, one singular sensation, got the glitter vest on with a top hat. From the Bronx, I don't know what's going on, but I loved it, and it opened me up so much to like just the world of appreciating art for what it is and all that it is.
No, listen, I mean, I can say that's funny because I was doing the same stuff, man. My parents had me singing, Rat Pack songs, and I was singing the Candyman by the man behind you, Sammy Davis Jr. Yeah, yes. So it's like. And I was wearing the shiny outfit to do the thing. But it's funny because it did teach me an appreciation for arts. Mm-hmm. Like in a sense of, it's why I take it so seriously. Like, unless it's a really bad movie that I can laugh at because it's laughably bad. Right. Like, no, I can't just watch something that's mediocre. Like, I appreciate. There's people making really great stuff. Yeah. So I want to watch that. You know what I mean? It's the same with same with music. It's like I can't passively, because I care a little too much.
Too much, right? Yeah. It's like once your mind has been opened up, you see the number. It's like Neo, right?
Yes.
You see the codes of it now. You understand the depth of it, the brevity of. No, this is not just music. It's not just the lyrics. Like, exactly. This is not just a film or just a role. It makes you feel something. It inspires you. It's pulling at you, but also it's sometimes changing your emotion and also changing a thought process.
Right.
And that's what art does. Mm-hmm. A lot of times I feel like art, it should challenge you in some ways. I mean, it should do that as well as inspire, and as well as help to massage these feelings and emotions. It also should challenge you, I think, in a very real way, mentally, spiritually, sometimes even,
Yeah, no, facts. So Broadway, you saw Broadway at what age?
Ooh, I was 8, 9.
So, shout out to your parents, man.
You know what I mean?
Like that's because my dad was always taking. I hadn't gone to Broadway yet, but I was always going to, whether it was local theater or whether plays in Chicago and all that kind of stuff. Like at a young age, but he was molding me for this.
Yeah, he knew strategically. He was like, "What you gonna learn?
This is what we doing today." Just like every Saturday we go to the movies, but it was also like some of the best acting coaches ever. Because I walk out of a comedy, I want to impersonate the person in the comedy. Right. Walk out of a drama, I want to do the.
You could. It was already in. It was already. You couldn't help it. It was ingrained into your DNA at that point. You're like, I can't help it. I got it. Do you see what I just experienced? I got it. Yeah. I got it.
Can I do that? Like, you know what I mean? It's the can I go?
Possible. But you know what the weird dynamic to that was? So still shout out to my parents, but also differently from your experience. my father didn't want me to get into that.
Oh well, yeah, well, African.
You know, right? It's the
Get
whole
a job.
right. Listen, right? So listen, that Caribbean, that really it's the Caribbean diaspora.
Caribbean, yeah.
So even because although coming from, again, like I said, my father's from Guyana.
Okay.
Right. Just to be clear, Guyana, not Ghana. So Guyana, right?
okay,
But St. Kitts, but just coming from that, but even so, like you have the African diaspora, like those that know, no, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a nurse, you're going to, you know, and or my side of the world is like, you can't get no job downtown singing and acting. And I was, even at that tender age, I was like, and I was a rebel in the family. I was the one that was like questioning shit. I was, you know, I'm like, but why? Everything was because I wanted to make sense. You know what I mean? Like, just don't tell me to do something because I got to do it. After a certain time, my brain goes, but why? You know what I mean? I'm questioning shit. But I also said to him, but you can get a job downtown singing and acting because there's this place called Broadway. I was that kid. I mean, but no, but you know what it was, and I had this conversation recently. It just does not seem obtainable or sustainable, right? And to some degree, they're right because not everybody can do it,
right?
You know, not everybody is meant to do it. We have still to this day thousands, if not thousands upon thousands of you know, artists, but actors that are looking to get their break, get on a show, get on a stage, and we're fortunate to be a part of the percentile of human beings, people that have been able to say, no, we've achieved the goal, you know, at least that part of it, you know, that tier of it. And so I'm very happy about that. But they were also just very concerned. My mom was all very much a cheerleader. Go, Sean. I hear you, baby. You're singing. I just saw it. My mom, I swear, when as I got older and after her transitioning, I realized that she was prophesying. She was seeing it. I didn't realize, at the time I didn't see it because I'd be coming in from being on the street, doing whatever at the time. It was before she got sick. And I would come home and she'd be like, I just saw you on the TV. I just saw you. And I'm like, who, Ma? Sometimes I'll catch what she's watching and I'm looking at it and I'm like, he's light skinned. How you, Ma, there's no, how are you, that's not me. No. But well, look at the way that he's smiling. Okay, Ma. You know, I'm like, all right. But what I realized later is that, no, I'm seeing you here. For whatever you're looking to do, at the time was music and getting a deal, but either way, I saw you here, and I didn't get it until later. You know what I mean? But she always had the faith and the vision for me. She held the vision for me. But Pops was like, listen, get your education, get a job, get a wife, get some children, get a house, picket fence, dog if you want one, and you know, like. You know what I mean?
Like the blueprint's been put out here.
This is why I came to this country. I ain't come for you to be out here dealing on somebody's stage and trying to get a deal and singing. I mean, you know, and again, as much as he loved the music and he appreciated, you know, the art of it in terms of even just film, because he didn't really do the play situation, but he just loved it. But I don't know if that's real for you, you know? And so, you know, again, I make reference to, you know, to Langston and Lorraine Hansberry when I did this play numerous times, Raising in the Sun. But, you know, what happens to a dream deferred? And I believe that there are times where, or situations when I became privy to that, hey, listen, my father had a dream too, but for some reason or another, you know what I mean? Exactly. And he might say, I don't want you to, I looked at it very differently. You know, once you know, and therapy helped a lot with different things and you know, healing is important, okay? People, black people, our people, healing is important, therapy is important. But I realized he just didn't want me to hurt, you know, or be disappointed.
And that's exactly the way, when I see people who say their parents didn't want them to do it, it's usually just like, well, first off, if they're having that discussion with you, they're in your life. So that means they want you to win.
That's one, right? So that's already a win.
There's already a win.
Yeah.
So two, a lot of times I think it's just, I don't want that disappointment for you. There is a blueprint of where you can at least have this level of comfort. Yeah. And I know if I figured this out, you can for sure figure out something better than this. Yeah. So just go do that because then that way I feel, and then also the being able to brag to their friends like, you know, my son doctor, my son lawyer.
You know? What prouder moment?
Because until you're going, oh yeah, my son's on that show.
Right.
Until it's that, it's kind of like, Well, he's, figuring it out. I know my parents have had to a lot of times be like, my sure he's staying busy. He's just, just working, figuring it out.
Figuring it out. That figuring it out statement.
Figuring it out, and that's one thing you said. What did you say? Attainability and sustainability.
And sustainability.
The attainability, I think I figured that part out.
Right. It's the sustainability.
It's that part, boy. Ooh, that'd be the hard part.
Oh man, listen, we're all, and listen, I don't know if there's a tier where you're not trying to. Even for those that have gone, again to the levels that we see, the heights of it, which is great, and to some degree grandiose. But but I think that at all times, just because we're human, we're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
I think there are things that people seem to overlook when it comes to this business. They see the end result, right? They see. Oh, this is going in and out. You still good?
Yeah, can you hear yourself?
Yeah. It was going out for a second. I want to make sure.
Oh yeah, you're all good.
We're good to go? Okay.
Yeah.
Pardon us, folks, just to make sure that, everything's where it needs to be. But I think that there are things that people don't seem to get a grasp of when it comes to, they see the end result of things, and they don't understand all that it takes to get to that point. And then, you get to that point, that's one moment, but now you got to sustain it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's at every level. Like now you gotta maintain.
Mm-hmm.
You dig?
Yeah.
And that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you take it to basketball. It's like looking at how many people have gone in and out of the league since LeBron has been, like, he showed up from day one, and he's basically really shown up ever since.
Right.
Even just at his age, playing to the level he does is showing up. So it's like, some people have some people take it a little more seriously.
A little more seriously. Yeah. They'll put a lot more into what it is and what it takes to maintain and to sustain. But it's a goal. That's part of the goal for us. That's part of what we want. We want that because we also love it so much. We don't want to walk away from something, or we don't want to feel as if this is not worth what it cost us.
There you go.
Yeah. I had that conversation recently.
That's a real one too.
That was a real question that my homegirl La asked me on an interview, and she was like, "What did it cost?" And I was like, "Ooh," I had to sit with that for a second. Because as an artist, you got to think a lot of what we do. It costs just about everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So. And so I say that to say what some on the outside, even for those that are pursuing still, what they don't fully grasp, what they should fully at least get an understanding of, if they haven't experienced it yet, is what it's going to take to get to that level and sustain, what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a lot of work and a lot of sometimes pausing things in life. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like, I think that's a big piece of it people don't factor in. It's Absolutely. Like you're trying to get to a certain level, not only in your career, but also financially in a career that, until it cracks, it's not cracking. Right. You know what I mean? But each piece is a stepping stone to the actual, pot of gold, so to speak.
Right.
But, can you take someone on that journey with you? Usually not. Ooh. You know what I mean? Ooh. A lot of times, I'm sure you've seen it a lot. People, they'll have kids or something like that, and it's also like, okay, I can't. I crapped out. Like, I can't, because there's not money for this and this. Right. You know what I mean? I got to have something a little more stable, and understandably. Right. But it's like, how, like, what, it's kind of a lone journey.
It is a bit
to an extent.
It is a bit of that. It's not that you can't do it with somebody. You can't. It's not that you can't take someone along. Right. I think you have to use discernment and knowing if you can and when you can, who. That's the part, because everybody can't come, right? Yeah. Everybody can't jump on the ride. Everybody can't get, because some people are not meant to whatever, and for whatever reason,
also it's not their dream.
And it's not. Well, listen, I can't expect for somebody to see the vision that God put in my head. God put it in my mind, in my head for a reason. You don't understand it. I've had many of those conversations too. Man, why don't you just, if you would just, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not what that's not it. That's not how I see it. You know, and I don't want to force you to see my dream. I'm just gonna go out here and handle it. So I'm gonna so I may have to just be like, nah, I'm gonna not do that. I'm just gonna do this. And I've had to do that too. Yeah. But that's me staying true to what I believe in and what my dream and my goal is. What's the vision that God put in my mind, in my brain to see? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I've got to focus on that. Bet I may have to do this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And no disrespect to anybody else, but this is what I got to do to get there, and that means I got to push my way through that. I got to muscle through it, right? And that takes what it costs for that is what that will cost you is a lot, you know, because you're already talking about time currency, energy currency, you know, faith and believing in yourself. Don't give up, keep going, and on the days like
throw a no in there, throw a nice hard no. No. Shit. Okay. Well, you know what? Blinders back on.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, yeah, bro.
But I will add to that. I will say this to the no. This is what I've, learned, and I still practiced, and I continue to, just kind of massage it into my DNA, into my mind, and it's been doing well so far because I just found, I continue to find, not just found, but I continue to find happiness and peace and just love for life in many different ways in conjunction with what I do and what I love. So the no is truly, although it hurts, for the ego and like, you know what I mean? But no, that's not for me.
That's true.
That's not what it's not for me. That no was a no because I've also taken the understanding that it's not personal.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not. I mean, we learned that along the way because we had a conversation about that. Like, we don't know why we don't. Sometimes we'll find out after the fact, and we're like, oh, because you're the cousin of so and so. Bet I'm not beating that. Or what you may never know is that you remind the casting or whoever or the producer or director of an ex-boyfriend, and I don't want to look at you all day.
I'm good.
So. What
damn,
you know what I mean? What is my wonderful self-tape or in person, what is that going to do at that point in time? So I can't, and there's so many,
the show creator and this actor, they have the same agent. They're both with UTA, and so they did a package deal.
They did a package deal. I'm not in that package. I'm not in that club at this moment.
But we read you though.
We read you. It was good. We read you. Yeah. But but again, what can you do? What it is. What can you? But it's not personal in terms of I don't like you, Maestro, and I don't like you, Sean. No, it's just this is what this is. What I believe in though, what I put energy into is the right person will see it though, because that tape might have, or that same person goes, not this one, but I got something else in mind for you. That's actually how FBI came about.
Really?
Was it FBI or Rookie? No, sorry, no, not FBI. The Rookie.
Okay, so how did that happen?
Hold on. Let me condense the story because I can go on and on. We would be here talking like we brothers. So we'd be like, and that one time, no, but what?
That's fine.
No, but what I remember specifically, I was auditioning for a different show.
Okay.
Same casting, and I remember I did the audition while I was going back and forth working on projects between Atlanta and LA. But at the time I was in LA, back here, and I did the audition, and the way that you'll get the no in this type of situation is the casting comes back to you and they say, hey, can you audition for this role instead? Right? Now, if I remember this correctly, same show, different role. Okay. So I'm like, okay, so they're pulling for me because they want me. That's a great thing, by the way, for those that are listening that are trying to understand how does that work. Casting wants you. If you get auditions for the same show, but you haven't booked it yet, just know that they're looking at you and they want you.
Yeah,
that's what I believe.
They're really trying to find a place to put you.
They're trying to find a place to put you. They're not just bullshit. I think in those scenarios you can absolutely see what it is. So I'm like, okay, all right, well, okay, so no for that. And then the other one, I did the other audition, And it was a no for that too. Why did I know? Because one, it never came back. But right, that's also how we get our answers. But
no one ever calls.
No.
They don't call and say, hey, like, Maestro, hey, we really. But also, I don't want them to call because all they're gonna say is, we're huge fans.
Oh, that part.
I'm like,
we have so much respect for you and your work.
Like, man, for some fans who ain't spending no money with the company, this is some terrible fans.
It's terrible.
Terrible fans. Can you manipulate your other people to be fans as well?
Can you do that?
Get a director to be a fan.
Hey, did you see do you know that when Maestro was 5, like,
bring up some old shit.
Right. Go back further. You know, like, if you're really a fan, if we're talking fan talk now, right? Like, that's real talk. That's funny. That's funny as hell. But no, that's real.
Yeah.
You know, but listen, what we know is we know that as we continue to like work and we do these auditions and we get before all of these different casting directors and producers and what I believe and what I've been putting out there into the world, to the universe, and to God is like, we're creating fans. You may not have seen me before, but now you see me, and now you won't forget me.
That's very true.
So in this particular situation, that show went away, or those roles for that show went away. But then they said no, and they gave me one more. It was a third one, and it was a completely different show, and it was Rookie, and that's the one that I booked. But then that was like, possible reoccurring. We'll see. You know those. Yeah. We'll see. And I'm like, all right. I take it. I don't know, but maybe they're writing something, but they don't know. So for me, in my mind, as the artist and also as the business person, I'm gonna sell this shit to you. I'm gonna let you know why you need to bring me back. I got to do my best. I don't care if it's under 5, under 10. I'm gonna make it work because we've been in the worlds where we are series reg and then we're guest star recurring and top of show and we dance in those worlds until we get to where we need to be, right? And what's meant for us. But I say again, I didn't even know that was coming down the pipeline. And then you get it, and then it's like, all right, well, let me step in the room, let me do what I got to do, and that turns into, we got some more stuff for you. Hold on, we'll bring you back in, Right. And so that's how it was a no. So I said all of that to say, so didn't I tell you we were not going to go around the world, but we did it anyway? It's his fault.
I love it.
We just be talking.
I love it.
But it's so crazy because when we talk about our experiences and we tell these stories, we can't help. We go back. Sometimes we don't. For me, I'll be honest in transparency, I try not to lament it too much because I've had the experience, it's done, and I move on. But it's not until we get to talk with our fellow creators and we say, hey, so how did that feel? And so and now I'm like, let me think about that for a second.
That is true.
Yeah.
Because you create tough skin, callous skin. It's just that's how I be feeling. I be like, man, it is what it is. Like, oh yeah, these people, they might not call me back, but it's all good. I did my thing. And then you don't, but it's definitely a jade. I think I definitely have had it's not even jaded, but I guess in the way most people look at things, it would be. Mm-hmm. But I think it's more of like, I'm putting up a lot of shots. Like, you know what I mean? So that's my thought. It's like, when you tell me I got a job, I'm not impressed with myself, and when I don't hear back and no, I didn't get it, right. I'm not down on myself because I'm just like, yeah, nigga, but I'm about to throw the ball in the ocean? No, I have to keep putting up these shots. So what we talking about? The ball in the ocean. Yeah, okay.
Wilson.
Wilson. Now you want to talk about an actor?
Oh well, listen.
That boy can act.
Listen, that man. I don't even know if he just be existing. I don't even know if he understands that he's acting. This man is so beyond.
You're right. He's just existing. Different people.
He's existing in front of the camera and on stage. He's just, hey, I'm here.
That's man.
What these are the words? Wonderful. Let me live this.
Let me live this. I heard he even came up with the voice for like Forrest Gump, like that, like
yeah,
his decision.
I remember seeing a piece on that where like I think it might have been an extra or something was talking to him, and it's amazing how those things come about, right? The stories of like, but that's also why as an actor and as an artist, you've got to pay attention to life. Yes. Life is happening around you. Right? I guess, yeah, you look at it, you just lit up. Like, you just lit up. He's like, that's right there. But no, but it's real because, yes, we've got the mechanics of the talent part, right? Whether you're talking about the techniques and the Meisner and the Chubbuck and all of that, wonderful things, wonderful tools to have. But the other part for me, anyway, my personal experience and attitude towards it is, I need to be able to understand life as it is and what I've experienced, so that I can pour back into something that I do. Right. You know, I may not have been like, I'm not a father, you know, yet. Yeah, I'll say yet, if guys will, but but I've been playing these fathers on television. But I've had a dad,
right?
And I'm a godfather of like 10. I got 10 godchildren. Yo. Yeah, I'm a great uncle, by the way. Ask them, they'll tell you. But I know what it is to have responsibility. But I also know what it is, and I remember talking about this with Reggie, for Swagger. There were these moments that I had in playing Khalil Harris, shout out to Khalil, playing Musa's father, where I'm like, man, what would I have told, what would I have liked to hear, rather, from my father in moments where I didn't hear them? What were some of the words? What's the feeling that I would have wanted to feel had my father been able to express it the way in which I wanted to receive it? Because it's not that, my father didn't love me or didn't want me or didn't, he was taught love in a particular way, and all he was doing was using what he learned. Doing his version of what right. You're doing. Right, now. Yeah. Facts. Yeah, so I take those things and I say, well, now when I get these roles, I love them so much because it's also been healing and therapeutic, but it opens my mind up to, what is it that this son, this young man needs to hear from this man, who is, in the story wise, that is rearing him, his father is raising him and getting him to understand the world, but they're not alone, and these very wonderful things. So all of that being said, I love to take pride in knowing that these roles are out there, that mean that much, and sometimes we don't always get to play in those worlds, but it's a beautiful thing when we do, because that's when it takes the love of the craft and storytelling to a whole new level. And appreciating the art for what we do, for what it is. We get to see these beautiful bodies of work, wonderful story arcs, wonderful character arcs. Love that, because now we get a chance. Now we're feeling motivated and challenged. We can work towards that. And guess what? Another part of this is, if we haven't auditioned for it yet, if we haven't been able to book it yet, create it. Right. One of my mantras is, don't wait, create. Right. Right. There's nothing as we're doing a podcast right now. At one point, this wasn't even a thought for some people, right?
Listen, I always say that, bro. I tell people, I'm like, I have to do something because it wasn't this easily accessible and it wasn't this easy to do it at a certain point. Like I would have needed a full studio. Right. I would have needed multiple people. Right. Like there's no so I get it. You know what I mean? I get it. I want to go back to when you were talking about paying attention to life. Yes. So as somebody who I never really did training or anything like that. I've coached with for roles, but I've never done training growing up as far as acting. But other than watching other movies and television shows, I always learn just by watching life. Every person I meet is an archetype for a character. And it's just I do this weird thing too. I notice whenever I see anybody, whether they're the hood guy on the street or whether it's the girl on the, I imagine people smiling and crying. Yeah. It doesn't matter who it is. I just imagine what would them at a party look like, and then what would them that guy's probably not a crier. He's probably more of an anger, but this is what it would probably look like. Yeah, right. But it's and then the longer you know people, then it's how would they handle this? What is this? Okay, yeah, this person, he's funny. He always does this. But these are all, then you get a character and you're this is kind of and then I pull from that Rolodex. Right. That's your Rolodex, your tool bag, whatever you got, but you got it. Exactly. You got it. I got some kind of reference, right? There you go. You've created all of these, these templates, right? Or video games, these skins, and I've got this, and I got these, I can put this on for this one. I can use this for this one. I don't need the monkey wrench, but I need the, I need the sledgehammer. I need the, you know what I mean? So it's
going back to even what you said about Tom Hanks, like even that moment, if he wasn't paying attention to his surroundings, if he wasn't present and in life, he might have missed that conversation with that young boy. That would have inspired him to say, "Where are you from?" "Well, I'm from," in his mind, he's going, "Huh."
Right.
Because we're constantly being inspired by the things that are around us. If you think about it, as men, as we are creators, men, women, as creators, period, nature inspires us. What would make you want to build a machine that would go into the air if you're not really looking at it and going, how does this bird fly?
Right.
Just why does the butterfly do wings? And now we've got jets and.
But think how many people just don't care. And that's another thing too. Think how many people just don't care to do that though. And that's a big piece of it too. I think it's like a lot of people just don't care. Some people are kind of taught not to care because it's kind of like get real.
Yeah, get real.
And then
that conversation. Yeah,
and that's a tough one. And then you have the people who are just like the fringe. They're just gonna do whatever they want to do, and hey, we'll see. And then those be the Wright brothers.
You feel me?
Yeah. They probably came from a little bread too, though. I would assume.
I don't know the story. I don't know.
Very quickly.
Very quickly.
I want to see
that would be interesting. I mean, but you'd also, it would make sense to have some kind of resources to be able to.
Yeah, like how you just crash in planes and rebuild them.
And just rebuild it. No, that didn't work.
The parents of the Wright brothers, Wilbur and Orville, were Milton Wright and Susan Catherine Corneer Wright. Milton Wright was an ordained minister in the Church of the United Brethren in Christ, later becoming a bishop. Susan Catherine was known for her supportive role in their lives and encouragement in their intellectual interest. So, I mean, maybe he was...
But
the church.
But let's also talk about back then what that looked like in terms of having resources and currency for them. Very different, right? What may not, in terms of they might not have been Rockefeller, right?
Right.
But they still had a very different situation than you. Than
us
having an idea. I wonder if a bird shut your ass up and get back in. 100%. Right. Very differently from if that's what you want to do, son.
Or even, son, why do you worry your mind with these trivial thoughts? I tell you, Father, one day. I don't know. I don't even know where they're from, and I don't know what accent this is.
We don't give a whole other.
One day I'm gonna fly a plane. Right, brother? Right, brother? Now it's Mufasa.
You just wrote a whole different.
Take a look at my brother.
Right, brother. Right.
Right, brother.
Wait, were the Wright brothers in Britain? Where did that go? We created a whole show, by the way.
Wait, hold on. The black.
That is hilarious.
The Wright family. They were born. Where's the Wikipedia? I just want the Wikipedia.
No, the Wright brothers were American.
Yeah, they were, right?
Mm-hmm.
Milton Wright, Wilbur, and Orville.
Right here in the good old
U.S. of A.
U.S. of A.
Okay, so they're and Wilbur Wright were American aviation pioneers. Were credited as no. I want to see
little history lesson.
Dayton,
here, folks.
Ohio.
Little history lesson here, folks.
August 19th, 1871, Orville Wright was born.
So that you know we're talking about more than just acting in life.
So one Indiana, one Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, one died at 45 and one died at 76.
Was he in the plane?
I don't know.
It's just a question. We all know.
I don't know. That's tough, though.
Yeah.
Damn.
But to your point, they have an idea.
They had an idea. They went with it.
Right, but there are those that will say, I'm not paying attention to the bird or the butterfly or the insect. It just depends on.
Well, because I would got to worry about eating today. How can we eat the bird?
As opposed to fantasizing about
and what we'll do is over years we'll be. That's another thing too. There was a line in Atlanta in one of those episodes in the earlier seasons, and man, it stuck with me so hard. They did this whole thing where he basically was like, give me some money and I'll get you back $3,000, something like that. And so Donald Glover gives Lakeith the money, And then Lakeith goes around and he trades this shit up all day. He's like, where's the money? No, we're going to do this. It gets to the point where he gets a samurai sword at one point. He takes a samurai sword to somebody else. Then he gets this King Corso. And he's like, what are we doing with this dog? He's like, no, we're going to get the, then we're going to get the money. And then he drops off the King Corso. And then he's like, so where's the money? He's like, all right, so that dog's going to breed with their dog. And then we're going to have like this many King Corso puppies.
Yeah.
And like, that's like an easy 5 racks. And he's like, yeah, but I need the money today. And he was like, this is why poor people don't invest. Because I can't eat in September. I need to eat today.
Today, right.
And it's like, damn.
I
was like, that's the realest shit. It's like, yeah, I need it now.
Right.
Like
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, in theory, this
is
great.
Wonderful because, they're going to make money and what's going to breed. That's wonderful. I would like to have my meal now as opposed to like
in September.
Is that? I mean, do I got to wait that long to eat?
Yeah, I mean, and that's
the difference, though. Yeah, what different cultures or communities are taught in terms of what value is and how you can make the value of one thing work for another. But and you may have to sacrifice, but do you have the room to sacrifice depending on what?
What is your sacrifice?
Right. What does your sacrifice look like?
Some people's sacrifice is, I'm just not going to go to Starbucks this month. Some people are sacrifices. I gotta cut one of those Pilates classes because it's just a sad. I'm spending $200 here, and I can go to Pilates for free at the.
Right, I can work online.
Right. Some people's sacrifices is, I gotta get rid of this car.
Yeah.
But I can't because I used to go to work.
Right. But if I sell the car,
then I could pay off this debt.
Right.
Pay off this credit card bill.
Right. Or I've got to take money out of this situation and, I got to switch it to.
I got money in the market, but now I'm going to pull it because I got to. And that's still a good one. At least you had some money in the market.
At least you had some money in the market. But again, when you've been raised, and this is why it's so important now, right? In this time in an era where we are able to have the knowledge very differently back then when you ain't got the knowledge,
Yeah.
We even go back, 30, 40 years, of course, the more we know, the more opportunities we have.
Right.
But it's just to understand, and that kind of segues back into just the business side of things with this industry. It's a business.
Yeah.
It's a business. We would be fools to ignore what's in front of us. Even as the pandemic came and the strikes came, it also created these opportunities especially for those that were able to muscle through and survive through it, to understand what else is possible. All right, so the world says this, but we can still find ways to create. Right. I can still exercise my creative juices and do something else in art. I've just been so many conversations I've had with different artists, different people who have like, I discovered this about myself. I discovered this and this other art, this other gift that I have, right? And now, why would we not pay attention to the way that things are moving from social media? I know people like myself, private. I don't like giving a whole lot. Like I want to go to work. I want to book my job, get on set,
and you see it when it come out, right?
And I don't. And even then, but I think you can find ways to still put things out there and still promote yourself. We've got to promote ourselves, right? Or pay attention to the fact that you might not have been a person you never saw yourself doing a podcast, but
exactly
here you are, right? Yeah. Because you found it, because now we're finding different ways to not just express, which is also, I think, is something that's therapeutic. We need to just be able to talk sometimes and talk to the right people and have conversation and let things be thought provoking. But look at the different ways in which you can create, different avenues of income,
right?
But also different ways to express, but different ways to put your brand out there. Oh, this would be great. I never saw Maestro as a DJ or a talk host or a so and so, but now,
right?
I watched this interview. I think very differently.
And I've dabbled and played in all these different arenas, whether it's been from legitimately DJing to podcasting to rapping to producing to all. But the way I look at it is, I heard Robert Rodriguez say this on Joe Rogan's podcast, and I was like, this is the best way to put it. He was like, people are always worried about like, oh, the next movie is gonna do that didn't do as good as that movie. This wasn't this and that. He's like, I just look at it's just a body of work. It's like if you just put it all into a pile of body of work, well, like back to tools again. Yeah. Well, you just have all these tools that you can just pull on, and you try to keep them, make sure they don't get rusty. Right. But but overall, these are just, you think of things differently because you've been exposed to each part of, like, a lot of things seem dumb until you realize, oh, but that just makes that guy's job a little easier. Oh, and then if you don't have that, it's just like, why every time we got a slate before and after? Why does that really matter? Well, when you get in with the audio, have you ever tried to sync audio?
Right.
Yeah.
Now you're like,
oh shit,
shit. This makes some.
Man, these tail slates a bitch. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you start realizing like,
the importance of it.
Why these things are important. Looping beats. Or fucking the leadway beat. Boop, boop, boop. Oh, but the ADR beeps. Listen, see, they seem very trivial, don't they?
Right. But when you get into that editing world, and you're like,
the nigga who figured that out was a genius. It's like, what the hell?
Go over there looking at you, trying to find I can't match this for shit. But you put that damn near metronome, right? Right. Oh, okay. Now I know. It's right. It's tagged right here. Which is also why, like, even in theater, people you're encouraged to do crew and work on a crew, because it's to understand, and also in my mind respect everybody's position and what they do. It's again going back into even with the TV and film world, like, we in front of the camera, so with the pressure, we have our own level of pressure, but any set that I walk onto, I give props to the crew, because they got to stand there, sit there, move, shift. It's so much work that goes in. It's not just you, So, but respect every aspect of what it takes to create and be an artist, because that's art too. The way that you understand lighting is very different.
Oh,
right?
And I had my friends who came in and helped me set this up.
Okay.
My boy Denzel Whitaker, he directs, and so
shout out Denzel Whitaker. Yeah.
And so it's like same thing, man. It's like I started having, and I always say this, I started having more. It took me rapping and making rap music videos, but I was producing them myself, right? Because I was independent, so I'm doing all this stuff. Yep. And also, I have my we were talking about bare minimums. Yeah. Well, the way things look in my head, my bare minimum is very different for a rap video than you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm damn near making early 2000s videos on a $3,000 budget. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But, yeah, man, it's just like I saw how sourcing things, whether it was sourcing girls, sourcing houses, sourcing this, getting this, okay. Right. And then I got, oh man, let me try to get some product placement with these guys, that all this kinds of stuff, and I was like, wow, this is. Whoa. Yeah. I used to just, you walk in, you put your clothes on, you show up and do the thing, and then you're done. No, then breaking down, setting up, it's like there's so many pieces that go with each of it. And so now, even when I'm on a set, I'm even more cognizant of like, oh man, yeah. So you know what? It would help if I hit my mark a little cleaner, because you know what? This guy has to pull focus. And if he has to pull focus around where he's supposed to be, that's not great. And you can make his day a little, once again, it just makes the next guy's job just a little bit easier. And if that happens in cohesion, great product.
Chef's kisses.
Yeah. But that's why there's 100 motherfuckers there. That's why there's so many people here. Right. This is why we're able, like, even when I was like, when we're on Lincoln Lawyer, I'm just like, man, even the way they're able to, the stuff that's not the, all courtroom, like, they're able to get through things, but you're getting through it because everybody's playing their position well.
And
because if they weren't, this shit would take all day
or all days.
Yeah, all for sure.
And listen, and it still will take time because of sometimes just the length of work or the body of work, but how much slower could you imagine?
That's what I'm saying.
Right, like, can you imagine if you didn't, like, there's no way.
Imagine it was just rookies. You'd be shooting this shit. Like, boy, what?
Day 100 and so, like, what? No, you don't want that. Yeah, but no, and Lincoln. I mean, again, I've been on many shows that well-oiled machine.
Same with FBI was also oiled, boy.
Really
especially
effortless.
all the on location shooting.
Oh yeah,
they breezed through that shit.
Look to our knowledge, everything is now. What happened behind the scenes?
Oh yeah.
Who had to talk to? Because that in and of itself is just.
I can only imagine.
We shot in the rain, like now that we had this shot was we're dealing with the elements that's outside. Yeah. We didn't anticipate rain and windy next to the bridge.
You walking up and I what was it? I was recording you. Yeah, that's it.
I was like, he over there with the chain,
yeah, just let that little bitch go. Something like that. Oh boy, That was a fun episode.
That was a fun episode.
That was a really fun episode.
That was great, man. But yeah, like you said, to your point, man. Just, I mean, we went through. You jumped on a couple of branches, but being cognizant of what's around you, because even in that, I pay attention to, everything that's happening on stages, everything that's happening in, when I'm working with various artists, crews, art.
Yeah.
Lighting, you can't tell me that it's not doing that and sound, and we learn so much. I think it's better, even in doing self-tapes. I think it's, I believe that it has added, some value to be, as an actor, understanding more of what my light is and learning lenses. I love learning lenses and being understand what are we on right now. We're on a tight, we're on medium, but because now I understand where I need to give my performance, where I can kind of, it's very important. But
it is. But that you're also, I'm listening to you speak, and I'm just like, man, this brother is really a student of his craft. Because I'm gonna tell you, niggas ain't learning all that. Niggas are propping up the iPhone, no ring light. Like, let's go. And it's just like, I mean, like, man, I just know some of these, and then I know there's niggas who are out here paying to do self tapes. Then I know there's niggas out here who are, got the greatest setup ever, and for some reason iPhone man keep beating them out. So it's like, it's the weird, but I always am impressed with people who have the thirst for knowledge, because that's how I am. I'm the kind of person who goes, oh, okay, so if this is how this is done, what are the ways? Like, the one thing I haven't delved into yet, because it's so expensive, and I know what comes with it, is the camera world. Because I know, I'm like, okay, if I want to do anything, I'm going to need more than one.
Yeah.
And also, I'm really big into like the audio space. So delving into the camera world as well.
Yeah.
It would be a lot.
It would be a lot.
And I know once I do, then I got to get cameras. Because then I'm gonna be sitting here like, oh, you can't do this. Because
right. The ISO is completely wrong in this, and then I got to make sure the aperture is right on that.
And once I get there, that's a
whole other
$14,000 pit. I know what's coming.
You know what's coming next, yeah. But it's. I think it's just, it's enough to have. Not enough. It's just enough in the moment of where you're at and what you're doing. At least have the knowledge.
Yes, exactly.
You know what I mean? I think it's good to at least, like, I may not get behind in DP, but I have a great understanding and respect for what she or he needs when they're shooting me. Because now, and especially if there's I love being able to communicate. Like, Jen's great. Shout out to Jen. Like I love being able to talk with directors, but also talk with DPs and be mindful. I'm sometimes not even talking to me, but I'm listening, because even as this times they'll say, okay, second team come in, step away, but this times I may hang around. I want to see, because I've also been second team. I've been a stand-in. I was a stand-in for Omar Epps and was it the Resident? I forget what show it was, but yeah, it was shooting in Atlanta one time, and I think I was there. I've done the stand-in, I've done the background work. Even when I did background, I had those professional backgrounders that go on set and they're there for the food and that stipend at the end of the day, or they're just there to, hopefully they'll jump in front of a camera and get seen. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we need backgrounders as well. We need background talent. But for me, knowing that I knew what my trajectory was, I'm paying attention to the actors. And I'm paying attention to why they're moving this and these, all the things that eventually took a class for and learned, but I knew coming out of theater, we don't got to worry about that. Stage, you don't got to worry about that. You know, we get up, we learn the lines, everything is where it needs to be. We've rehearsed it enough times, get out there and go work. Curtains up. Very different than getting on a set and understanding even the jargon, of what they're looking for from, gaffers talking very differently than people that's, and the conversations are, but yet they're working, cohesively, right? Because they've got to make it work. Hitting the marks and wherever you put the marks at and getting the right DP and the who's pulling focus won't mean shit if you can't see him, and then going back to the hair and makeup, like none of it makes, if anything is out of place, it's just going to be wrong. This doesn't fit. And it
bothers, it takes away from the story because it's annoying or it's whatever.
The hair is just, it was too shiny.
It's in her eye, it's
something, but so even understanding that art form of it, like it's all art. It's a beautiful thing, so we pay attention to it. It all serves a purpose. I'm not going to be a makeup artist, but in theater, you definitely absolutely learn to put on your character lines, and you do your own makeup at one point because you get out on stage and everybody's had that level of training, but it's just to understand, So I agree with that. Like that's why I pay attention to it, because I believe it can only strengthen your art, as opposed to just showing up and being concerned with being in front of the camera and I'm here, or just throwing lines up. We could, again, and that takes nothing away from what we do. Again, as actors, we have a lot. We are, as I love to quote Al Pacino in this, we are emotional athletes. We are.
Damn, that's true. Yeah.
We are. I wish it was mine, but I can't take credit for it. But I say it all the time. I use it all the time. Al, when I meet you, I'm going to let you know. Also from the Bronx. Shout out. But listen, we are emotional athletes. When you think about the amount of emotions, but thought process and psychological places that we oftentimes will need to go.
Right.
I'm not going to say the role doesn't matter. It matters, but even I'll go back to FBI. I'll go back to the show that we did. What does it take to be believable in the persons that we were? Because we know these people exist. We've been in the world of music and entertainment, but even in telling that story, there's somebody, we try not to judge the characters, but there's a reason why, your story was what it was and my character story was what it was. These people exist. So then if I understand it, if I've lived life, if I paid attention to life,
right,
I know this person, or I have an understanding of who this person might be, but I've got to, but where we've got to now go psychologically to understand that, right?
Right.
Am I, what you got to do to take a life, or what you got to do to take this person's life, and why you feel justified in doing so. We're doing some things that the average person is not even thinking about. They're not even.
And you're waking up and doing this every day.
And you're waking up and doing it every day. We're constantly, we are alchemists, if you will.
Right.
In that sense, I'm going to take these lines in the script of paper, but I'm going to form this into the DNA in my body, which is now I present to you, and now I am so-and-so. And even when it's done right, because we've seen it with all the greats, but you forget that you're looking at who you're looking at, and it's like, no, it's this, bro. This is scary.
Oh, this is different.
Very different, and that's the beauty. That's part of what I love about being an actor. There's such beauty in that, the way that we're able to morph, and make you forget that even though you might have known the homie for X amount of time, but when I saw you in that, I was a very different person.
Yeah.
How did you do that? Damn, nigga.
Facts.
So you just gonna snitch on everybody but for your life and how you feel and how you, all right, but you gotta live though, right?
Right.
Yeah, but you wanted to make it out. You made it out, but now you a G, now you a gangster. Damn, homie, I believed you. Nah, that's Maestro, man. That nigga's cool as fuck.
It's for real.
It's real. So it's a very real thing. So I mean, again, I just love the art and the process of it all, man. It's a beautiful thing to do what we do.
Where did you start doing theater?
In New York, but more so when I got to, and a little bit in college, and then I wanted to go to Juilliard, and I wish I could say that my story was like, I trained here and I went to all the big theater companies. I didn't. It was like all literally off Broadway stuff. I mean, I can't say I did musicals. Like I said, I started in musical theater, to be clear. Because again, like I told you, that's when music and theater came together. And then when I got to Atlanta, at one point, I started working with people from New York that did,
okay.
you know, they worked on, you know, Lorraine Hansberry's work, you know.
Okay.
They worked on, you know, Ma Rainey. We worked on we worked on the bodies of work, and then I did also in New York. I did a program that I was in high school. Did a lot of Broadway musicals, but also did we had a class that did Shakespeare. So it was, you know, my world again was opened up to so many different things I didn't know I would be able to use at the time.
Damn,
but
that's cool.
At least had the opportunity to understand and read, you know, Shakespeare and read Othello and Hamlet, and you know, it was just, it was worlds I didn't even Macbeth. I didn't know what this was.
It broadens your horizons.
But it broadened my horizons, and I didn't know, even as a kid reading certain books, how that would come into play later. I'm like, oh, okay, this was, and then, you know, I see it being made into a movie, or they've reimagined it as a series or whatever, you know, whatever it is. I can say, okay, at least I have an understanding of what it is. But they're always learning, you know, because but I didn't have that experience. You know, again, that goes back to, well, you're not going to go to that school, you're going to go to this school because you don't need to.
Yeah.
but I found my way though, because I said, I found my way. I said I couldn't do that, but I'm gonna do this, and then of course I'll take classes, and then, you know, work with acting coaches, and I've had amazing coaches over the years. I call it Director Minister Scott, who's from Queens. I've had Angela Gibbs, who's Marla Gibbs' daughter. I've worked with her for matter of fact, I worked with her. I met her doing All Eyes on Me movie, and she was coaching Demetrius ship at the time for Pac, and but she's an amazing she's coach and mentor, you know, and I've had kind of a segue into this. I don't know if that was the next thing, but I'm like, I started thinking about the people in my life that have been like so not just inspiring, but they've been so supportive. You know, I got my team, Architect Beats. I think I told you about them before. They're music producers, because I started in music. Shout out to Mike Trauma D. Shout out Jug, my man Big Jug. Like those are my brothers. I started out doing music with them, but I met him in college. Wow. And I've known him, you know, so Jug specifically, and Mike is Jug's cousin. He worked for Loud Records back in the day. So these are the cats that did like Big Pun, Dead Prez, you know, Mob, worked with Mob Deep. Like, you know, I'm going back to a different part of life right now, but these are the people that I've been rocking in my corner, part of my village, that helped me get the discipline to understand branding and being an artist. And even when I didn't get to go to school for the arts, but even when I knew I was pursuing music, right, what I told myself when I went to this particular college was, I'm going to study marketing. Not just to be like, oh, I'm doing communications and mass communication. No, I want to know marketing, because if I'm an artist, I'm a bag of Doritos, I'm Pepsi, I'm Lay's. I need to know why they are successful and why every time they put something out, they hit, they win. So if a bag of Doritos, if Doritos, Pepsi, and Coke do this, I'm that. So how do I continue to now, as an artist and as a brand, move myself forward? And that's what that's the mentality I had. That was the strategic, you know, plan I had.
100% correct, bro.
And that goes even into acting. I realize now, like, listen, yes, we do the body of work, but I'm still a brand, and it's really on us to make sure that we continue to put ourselves out there and be present. Yeah. And don't get lost in it. We don't have to get lost in social media and get lost on being out there, but you can find very creative and different ways to make sure that people understand who you are. You know, because a lot of times I think they do, and I don't know if you can attest to this, but, you know, along with the auditioning and stuff we do, a lot of times casting and producers or whatever, they'll one of the first places they'll go is your socials. Yeah. And it's because I think we're not doing as much in person. That's one of the ways to kind of get an idea of who this is. They might do a Zoom call.
People are going to do that anyway, though, because it's like, even if you're going out with somebody, the first thing they're going to do is look you up. Like, right. It's just part of like figuring out. That's how we get a feel for who we're about to talk to. Like,
yeah.
Motherfuckers pick their therapist based off a picture. Like, think about what I'm saying right now. Have you ever been on ZocDoc?
I have not. No.
Okay, so ZocDoc is an app. This is a great app. You can find doctors on there. It's really good.
Okay.
But I realized one time, I'm like on there, like trying to find like a doctor for something. And I'm just like, yeah, there's stars and like ratings and shit. But like, realistically, you picking motherfuckers based off a picture.
Like,
this is kind of crazy when you really break it down.
Like, they look like it might be nice.
Yeah,
they look all right.
Yeah,
I like the way they dress.
He look like he been doing this for a while.
Nobody.
Like, it's crazy, but this is
real.
If that's how we're picking, like I said, shit like people are calling the lawyer on the freeway like we picking motherfuckers off of pictures. You don't know these people.
You don't know these people, right?
So if we're doing that for those kinds of things,
right?
You think a motherfucker who's picking someone to play pretend as a character not gonna go look this person up and see like what they be doing?
What do we? Please pay attention to that, y'all. Please make sure we understand what we're talking about right now. Like,
facts.
You hear what this man said? They literally, I've been saying this for a long time.
They're looking. Yeah.
So govern yourselves accordingly, and be smart about what you putting out into the world.
Yeah, no facts. Right. Just don't seem like a problem. That's really the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Don't seem like a person people would be happy to work with.
Yeah, I want to hang around with you.
He seems fun, but it's not a problem.
He's not a problem,
yeah,
right?
See,
yeah. I don't want to. Listen, I'm sure there's no lack of assholes, that people, and divas and all kind of stuff that people deal with. But you don't want to be that person.
No.
And they don't have time for that. Like they really.
And if you do, you better fucking have like 30 million followers.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
they don't mind dealing with your bullshit.
They'll deal with your bullshit. You make us money.
It's fine. But listen, we'll just deal with it. And I've been in those programs too.
It's just insert name here.
Right?
You know how he gets or she gets. Oh, they're one of a kind. Yeah, exactly. But if you're not that person, you should be nice to people and easy to work with.
For real. Real talk. That'll get you hired and that'll get you rehired.
Exactly. But and not only that, it's just I feel like shit's just easier when you are.
Yeah.
Life is just easier when you are. Like even running back into you, it's like it's yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's nice. Like, there's no bad blood. Oh, man, it was a pleasure working. Oh, man, and we're doing it again. Isn't it cool?
Yeah.
Like, I think people make a lot of this shit they make life more than it needs to be in a lot of cases.
They make it more difficult than it needs to be.
Make it a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. You just be good to people. Do work hard.
Right.
Put yourself through some difficult shit.
Right. So that you understand and know what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Be good to people. And pay your taxes. That's about it. I mean,
pay your taxes.
You know what I mean? And if you have them, raise your fucking kids.
Ooh.
Like
raise your kids.
Because if you was raising your kids, guess what? We'd have less shit going on in the world.
Okay.
And then we'd listen.
Raise your kids, please.
Raise your kids. Or don't have them,
If you know you don't want them.
Or can't afford them.
Well, that's a different conversation right there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but just be nice. And when I hear about, or when I've been around people that get on, you get to be on set, you get to do this work that we do.
Man.
What are you complaining about exactly?
Facts.
Like, it is the wildest and craziest thing to me.
Yeah.
You're getting paid to say some words, and delve into another world, be somebody else for a little bit,
bro.
And when you think about the ultimate like blessing and good time that it is, like why are you coming in mad that for the most trivial thing I could possibly imagine?
You know what people do for a living?
Yeah,
do you know what other jobs people have?
Yeah, this is not work. Like we working, but come on.
No, but yeah, like I always say too, it's like when people take themselves too seriously because they're good at something in entertainment. It's like, hey, listen, I respect for your diligence to get here, but like,
right,
no one's curing cancer here.
You feel me? Like,
no one's like, don't get that twisted.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like, all we need is one good earthquake. We're all rock. This shit ain't that. We just saw what some fire could do.
Right.
Like, you feel like those guys? What they do for a living?
Right.
Yeah.
We applaud that. Yeah. Like, that's work.
Well, and what if they showed up and they were having a bad day?
Right.
Tough shit.
Right. I don't care that you're on fire or your house is on fire. We don't.
It's not. I'm not in the mood today. I can't today.
I can't today. Right.
Yeah.
So then they show up on set with the. Yeah. I'm just
not in it. I don't know.
If you don't get your ass.
If you don't get in it, you know how much they pay you for the beat in it?
Right. To be in it, for you to walk on set. Meanwhile, the real workers, the other workers out there, because we do is real work, but it's like when you talk about work, and Denzel said this in an interview too, and of course, like, those that are putting their lives on the line every day.
Yeah.
What are you talking about right now?
Facts.
You know what I mean? So
I see what my dad. Listen, I see what my dad does. I see what my mom. She was a nurse for years.
My mom was a nurse too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Look at that. You see, you get it. We're watching them like
they on their feet, moving around. My dad, he's an electrician, plumber, engineer, like that. Yeah. So he's under toilets, he's on sinks doing
physical
labor. Exactly. Yeah. So the privilege, because and I've heard many great actors say that it is a privilege to do what we do. 100%.
So please leave the bullshit.
It
like
comes
we get to
with breakfast.
Come
nigga.
on.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, my dad don't wake up and go to work and they're like, yeah, you want a breakfast burrito, nigga?
Right.
No, that's not.
Right. That's not.
No.
You want juice or coffee?
No, and then they go, oh, wait, gotta stop, lunch. And if you work past the lunch hour, we gotta pay you more.
Right.
No, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. Right. So please, those
second meal.
Second meal. Got those. They're eating their breakfast on the way to the next.
Man.
Or eating their lunch on the way. Like if they even take a lunch.
If they even
take a lunch.
Because
you know what I mean?
Let me go knock this out real quick. Like it's a whole different game. So yeah, I'm always fortunate. I'm like, man, this is even being able to do shit like this, man. I'm like, I get to fucking talk to people I respect, my friends, and I learn things. I learn about them. I learn about I leave this room constantly more informed than I was when I entered it, and that's what I like about it.
That's good.
And then it also allows me to even personally, like, my perspectives on things, hearing other people's stories, gauging that. Because it's a wide array of people, but everybody has their dream and everybody has their goal,
right?
And everybody has their way of going about it.
Yeah.
And
it's very real. I can't even say nothing to that. You said it. I think you should. I think that's a beautiful. No, I do have something to say. I've got something to say, but I can't say nothing to that. Well, actually, this one. But no, I think you for what this stage is, but this medium is. I feel that's great that you're able to. That you said that you're able to. You find yourself walking away knowing more than when you did. I think that's a beautiful thing. Okay, that means that you are, as a person, you're open to listening to what somebody. The perspective in their life, and I thought I knew this about you, but I didn't know. Okay, exactly. And just hearing somebody's point of view, or the way that they're conversing, and the way they're talking about life, outside of talking shop, just what is life? How do you view just being a human being, right. and heart space and mind space, and so I think that's the beautiful thing, bro. I love that. I love that. I love this.
Yeah,
I love it. I told you, I saw you on the podcast. I said, oh, this is dope.
Man.
And I saw you. I saw Forrest on here, and I saw you had a couple of people that I was like, whenever I did catch it, because how the algorithm be playing.
Yeah.
But when I did, I was like, that's dope. And my homeboy Jug and Mike, they'll do a podcast and they'll start doing that thing too. Like producers are doing that now. You've seen Timbaland do it. Like they are. We have things to say, but the more, it's not just enough to just rest on your
what you've done
in your plaques. Because guess what? Even with that, in your mind, you're thinking they should know. How many people we have not yet reached in this world? I mean, between the TikToks and whatever you put on TikTok might not have gotten an IG. Whatever you put on IG might not have gone on to Twitter / X. Facebook, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think the other part of this is when you find something, you find your niche and you find what makes you happy and what you love to do it. But go out there, do it fully, and put it out into the world. It's evergreen content.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Find a way to monetize it when you can.
And the key is always believe, because at the end of the day, like I said, it's people like to network up too much. Whereas what you have to remember is, and one way I've always looked at it is, if I'm interviewing, it's like the stock market, right? Mm-hmm. If I'm interviewing people who I already believe in, mm-hmm. and I know that they've already accomplished X, Y, and Z, I'm just betting on a winning horse, right? Because somebody's gonna do something and people are gonna go crazy for them and then go, oh man, what were they doing? And you can come see them right here because that's until the GQ interviews and stuff start. But it's like, oh man, this is cool to see that trajectory.
Yeah.
Like I feel the same watching myself in films. It's like that trajectory, and it's like, as I grow, my guest will grow.
Absolutely,
you know what I mean? And
right.
that's how it should.
That's how it should
work out.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I love that. What you said, that people are trying to level up and they don't understand what it is to
network in their tier, on their level.
Yeah. And also, you don't know who's going to be what and do what next. You don't know how any of that pans out.
You don't know what somebody has in the tank or what's going to end up being there. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And just being able to honor a person even at that stage and that moment is great and it's fine, is enough. And I think you build your genuine relationships, the ones that you can. Those that will stay. The ones that don't, all right, it's cool. But I believe that in moments like this, I'm listen. I've always have it on my bracelet. I'm about alignment. Right. I've said it. I don't do resolutions. I've gotten out of that world years ago. But I just say, listen. What I expect. We talked about expectations and expectancy. I have spoke this, manifested. I believe in divine alignment. Right. It should be if I'm doing a interview, a podcast, if I'm doing a body of work, this is an independent film, if I'm doing all stuff, it's got to be divinely aligned, and it will be because this is divine alignment. We haven't seen each other, right? On social media, we've been what up? We haven't seen each other, and there's times I've been in LA, but it was like I'm in and I'm out. Yeah. But how do we know that this was going to happen again?
And
right?
What better way than to see each other working?
Exactly. I mean, like I want to know. I want to see you.
I love to go out and grab a drink with you, but also I'd rather see you on set.
I want to see you on set. I want to see you working, bro. And then to be working together, it's beautiful. So it's divine alignment. Yeah. I believe in that very much. So I know that doing this and work like this is just, it's always setting up for the next.
Yeah.
On so many levels, like not just one way, it's setting up for the next. So kudos to you.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations to you. I'm happy to be here. I'm not closing. I'm not closing up, but I'm just saying.
No. I really appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. What was your first on-screen gig?
On screen, big, like on like a major situation, or just on
major
on a major.
Was
that
it TV or film?
Huh?
Was your first one TV?
It was. Oh wait, I got my brain right now. It was. I'm trying to think which one was first. It was for film. It was All Eyes on Me.
Okay. So.
Where I had lines. I was an actor. Yeah, I'm gonna say that because I joked about this the other day. Excuse me. I also, like I said, did background work. And of course, even understanding that, there were moments I was just happy, just like, wait, there I go. Oh. I think I did Taken, and that was the one where it was Taken 3. And it was the one where Forrest Whitaker was in it.
Okay.
And I was in the room with the man. And I remember being just greatly impressed by the fact that he still did the fundamentals. I heard somebody talking to themselves. We were sitting and waiting and holding, and I'm in the space that we're in, using it as the police precinct, and I'm hearing, and I'm looking around like, where's that coming from? And what is happening? And then somebody kind of peeked out of a corner. I was like, and he's running his lines. Wow. And going through all these. I mean, at the time I didn't know what he was doing because running lines. But what he was doing, I realized when we got on camera, he was giving these variations of the performance of what he was going to do. But he was just in it, and so they say, of course, background, don't talk to the talent and right. But he was so chill. He was like, "What's up, man?" I said, "Hey, what's yeah, hey." And I just was. That was the first. And for TV, I believe it was Tyler Perry.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Tyler Perry. I had like 2 episodes, and yeah.
Okay. What was it? Meet the Browns or Pain?
No, neither. It was Neighbor.
Oh, okay.
Lord forgive me. Sorry, TP. But he has so many. I mean, the man has
a catalog.
A catalog. Okay. But yeah, it was that for
Love Thy Neighbor.
Love Thy Neighbor. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's dope.
And great talent that came out of there too. But yeah, that was the first for me. And
it's something about what you were saying, being on sets and like seeing, just to like you said, even when you're doing stand-in work, just to be around, like, so you can see the actors and stuff. And it's like, even you're saying when you're doing Taken, like that's crazy to like. It's different when you see the people who you always see on screen and they're right there doing the thing. You're like, yeah, but that's about how I would go about it. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, what I do kind of makes sense. But I notice he. Okay, good to know. Like you pick up on the like, but it's there, and you're like, and you're seeing it for real. Like, so they go about it kind of like me,
right?
And that's most of the time whenever I've been in a room with somebody I really respect. 9 times out of 10, it's mostly me going, okay, you're getting it mostly right. Then there usually is one thing and goes, now nigga, you're not doing that, and you need to figure out whatever the hell that is.
Yeah.
You need that shit.
Yeah.
But the other 9 will be like, yeah. All
right.
And every once in a while, I go in and I go, that's it? And not in the back, but just like,
no, just
that's it?
Right. You're not.
Huh. So maybe do less. Like sometimes that's the case too. Because like,
bro, you'd be amazed.
You'd be amazed. But
you'd be amazed at the information that you're like, oh, I'm overthinking.
Yeah, I'm trying too much.
I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
But I also appreciate I did a Shaft. It was
the one with the sun.
Yes.
Okay.
With JT Usher, and I played. It was a stunt performance role, so it was forgot his name, but it was like, bad guy so and so,
Right.
But it was the flashback to when he and Regina were younger, and at the time they reveal had a baby.
Okay.
And I was one of the guys that was hunting him down because he had basically got it in with one of the major drug dealers back then. And but I won't forget, because I was just stunts for a while,
Wow.
Stunts, yeah. So I would say that. So to what that means, so I would do stunt work because I'm into martial arts, and martial art is boxing, but I didn't want to stay in stunts because there's a world you can get trapped in, because I'm an actor first. So I had to be very careful of how I would go about doing work.
How long were you doing martial arts, or when did you start martial arts?
I started. Well, I think everybody did Taekwondo after watching Bruce Lee at a while. Even though he wasn't Taekwondo, he was Jeet Kune Do. But Taekwondo was what I started with. In my building, this guy was a black belt teacher in the community center. So I started there, but then I started to 9, 10.
Oh,
9,
wow.
10 with that. But then I got into Kyokushin Shotokan, which is more hard style fighting, Japanese style fighting. So I got into Shotokan, Kyokushin. That was my main stay of martial arts training.
That explains a lot about your discipline and your like groundedness. Martial arts. That. No, but it makes it adds up.
Okay.
So, have you been to Japan? Oh, brother,
that's on my.
I went last year. I'm trying to go again this year.
Really?
Like, it's one of them places, bro.
I know it is.
It's one of them places. Like, I went and I was like, I could find a way to come back here every year. Like, I can make
it's on my
a way. Like, it's you would just love it.
I know that I would.
Yeah.
I know my sensei. He was he's still my Shihan. He studied with Matsuyama. He's one of the founders of Kyokushin Shotokan. Shotokan. And so he studied with Matsuyama in Japan, and he was one of his men. As a black man now, just coming from, he was Navy, he did boxing, but that's where he studied his Shotokan. He got his starts in Shotokan. And I say that to say that he studied abroad, and he trained in Japan, Okinawa and places. So, but that's been a dream of mine.
Yeah.
Still is. It's still on my manifestation goal list to go train in Japan. When I think of the greats who I've loved, especially black martial artists, Michael Jai White, Wesley Snipes.
Right.
You know, the list goes on and on and on. But I would love that. But yeah, that's to answer your question.
That's
I studied
really
that.
Cool.
That's why I studied for years.
Okay,
before.
so then when did you start going? Oh, I could do stunt work.
I was for a time I was in Atlanta, and I started working. I started getting to meet stunt actors, stunt people,
Right.
stunt performers, but also stunt actors, and realizing like I wanted to get some more training in it, because I'm like, well, this is all in my wheelhouse. Like, I love action. I'm an action film buff. So
Right.
and I loved watching the work of martial arts and action, helping to tell a story. We know when it's done a particular way. You know, the John Wicks and the Raid and all of the different things. So I
Raid so fire.
brother,
That shit's crazy.
that's a whole other podcast. But yes, okay, because I loved I love the action. I love the movement of it. I love the telling the story of it. So I went ahead and started getting into it, and but Maestro, I didn't want to get caught, because what happens is you get limited for stunts anyway. You know, if they need stunts, they need stunts.
They put you in a box.
You're coming into but because that's what they need you for, and it's a very, very, very important job. Shout out to all my stunt people out there in the stunt crews, because you need them. But you are that person behind the scenes. That's why I love when they did Fall Guy, and they gave props to all the stunt community, because they are the ones that are necessarily, you're in the shadows. They come in, they double you, but I just know I didn't want to stay there, because my focus was still acting.
Yeah.
So what I do is I market myself, go back to as letting people know, hey, I shot something. I did a short film now that's called One Way Out, where it shows that, hey, I have martial arts background, stunts, because if you would know that from the body work that I have thus far, because you've seen drama and everything else, but in order for me to put it out there for people to know it, I've got to create it so you can see it.
Shoot it.
I got to shoot it, and that's what I did. So, but I got into stunt. So that led me into Shaft. I'm sorry, we're circling back to Shafts, and that got me to work on their shout out to Dan Antonio stunt, and we went and Samuel L. Jackson, and so the scene was him shooting at me in the car, shooting up the car, and then pulling me out the window and dropping me to the ground. And so that was fun. And of course I was in a moment like, Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that's the man.
And I remember when the stunt coordinator was like, "Do you mind? Are you good being pulled out of the car?" And I knew it was good. I was like, "Yeah." We didn't realize at the time with my other stunt performers, it was three of us, that you're gonna be the one being pulled out of the. They was like, and they looked back at me. They was like, "Nigga." They're like, "Yo," and I was like.
Awesome.
That was my first major stunt performance role.
That's cool.
And I got that, but all of that to also say, I'm laying on that ground. This was in Atlanta. It was wintertime. I'm laying on the ground. It's cold as shit. I got my gator back on. I got the squibs. I'm there. I'm laying on the ground. And we're like, cut. Took a minute. And Samuel just walked around standing there. He looks down at me. And he goes, "What's up, man? You all right?" And I was like, and I wanted to say something so cool, bro. I wanted to have the coolest response. Anything cool. In my brain, I was like, I'm not too shabby for a guy to get shot up and pulled out of a window. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to, And you know what I said? I said, "I'm blessed." And he looked at me and said, "All right." And that was it. And I was like, and in myself, I said, "You're blessed." Is that all? I mean, it's true. But is that all you had to say?
All right.
He was like, all right. He said, all right. And it was just that exchange. But we had no choice but to talk to one another in that moment. Right. I'm laying on the ground, and I got tears coming out. The director came out like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." He said, "Because did you mean to drop that tear?" I'm like, "Well, it's cold. And yes, I got shot and I'm in the moment." And it was like, "You're an actor, right?" I was like, "Yes." They're like, "All right." I mean, I thought it worked, and it worked. It stayed in the, they got it. It did not get cut. But the other important thing, bro, was I paid attention to what he did as an actor, because he's a thinking actor. It wasn't in the script. It wasn't something that they had, talked about. He shot me up. He had a revolver, so he emptied out the shells. He's walking away, and then when they went to do another take, he said, "Wait a minute, Samuel." Now he goes, "Wait, I need more bullets." And we're like, okay, what, and Tim's story, shout out Tim's story. He was like, well, okay, so what did he said, well, and he explained it so very simple. It wasn't like this, Nirvana moment of, but it was a very like, well, if I just had a shootout, clearly people are, he discovers that, I think the character was Gordo. Oh, he's after me. And then he's walking back to his car where he's got his lady at. We then realize later to reveal that the baby's in the car. He's like, well, why am I walking back to the car and I'm not reloading I need more bullets. So let me have another so I can reload and it was that. And so we did another take where he walks away and now you see him go in his pocket and reloading because just in case 3 niggas just popped up and tried to take him out.
Yeah, why would I be okay?
Why would I be?
Yeah.
But it was so
intentional.
And if you're not, again, that goes back like what you were saying, you're just watching the ones that we love, and it was so simple. Yeah. This wasn't a Meisner Chubby, this wasn't anything that deep. It was like, but you're a thinking actor. Yeah. You did what makes sense in this moment.
I'm really in this story.
It wasn't on paper. It wasn't, right. And Tim was like, nah, yeah, that makes sense. Let's get props, and it was that simple.
And that's how you create a character.
that was my class. That was my master class. I sat there and I was like, I laid there with cold, the tears in the cold, tears running out my eyes, shot up. But I was like, I'm blessed. I'm blessed. And they're like, all right. But also, yes, to what you're doing and being in the moment, understanding what this is. Yeah. And I took that when you said, what's the moment where you're like, do I need that? Can I use that? Absolutely. Yeah. But I take that with me. That stuck with me forever. Outside of just shaking his hand and, and I ain't get no picture and nothing like that. I was just wanted to being around and watching him and seeing the process. Same thing when I watched Forrest. And I was just like, this is dope. Listen, man, regardless of where you are on that set, I'm going to tell you, you're a lot closer to your dreams if you on a set with either one of those two people than if you're not. And if you're not, regardless of where you sit. Yeah. You say that. Even if you're a background nigga, you closer than a nigga who's sitting on his couch. You feel that? Listen. Ain't lying. I've been doing this shit 30 years. Don Cheadle, I worked with him on House of Lies. That was like one of my Don is that man. The man. Yeah. I learned a lot. Like just watch another person, just watching how he moves or how he he's for me. He's same with Sydney and same. So and so that was one, but man, I never worked with Forrest and never worked with Sam. Mm-hmm. Sam is one of those ones. I'm like, man, I want it before he wrap it up. I'd love to get one with Sam, boy. That's because he's just one of those, iconic figures. Like he is. Yeah, he's like, you can't replace those when they're gone. No, absolutely not. Like you don't be like, he the new Samuel. Like no, it'll just be something else. Right. There'll be like some guy who does another thing that we like kind of like that, but it won't. No, it won't be that. Absolutely not. He's one of one. He's one of one. Yeah. And that's what's very special about unconventional movie star. The man has worked so much in the capacity. He's also like, as for my friends would have a joke, say, "Yo, you trying to be in your Samuel L. Jackson?" They'll be like, "I see you in everything," and I'm like, I don't really. But he does work a lot. But he does work a lot. You know what I'm saying? I'm not mad at that. No, and listen, he understands for me, I can't speak for the man, but it seems to me on the outside looking in, it seems to me that he has a great understanding of what it is to be an actor. Coming from what he's coming from in theater and everything, but also what it means to be in this business. Yeah. And understanding I'm gonna keep working until I get seen. He wasn't doing any and everything. He's had these tremendous roles, but you'll see him popping in here and there, coming to America from, working with Spike on different, all these levels to where he is now. But that has something to do with why he always works too. 100%. Yeah. Because he's worked with people on multiple levels of their career. Mm-hmm. From when Quentin made Pulp Fiction, he wasn't the Quentin he is now. Right. He was. You feel me? Mm-hmm. You feel me? And Sam showed up just the same and gave a hell of a performance just the same. And now when Quentin can offer to pay you some ungodly amount of money, guess what? Same Sam. Same. Yep. And that's also that thing about you know, when I think of that, when I think of the people who came up with the Quentins and the Tarantinos and, you know, the Spike Lees, and they're looking at the people that they've had around them that believed from when they were just trying to figure it out, right?
And look at where all those people are.
And because they were able to work across, right, and understand or see a vision, give a chance. You know, they're those. That's going back to you know, that other part of the conversation. Like, people are. I see it's. It depends. You got to look for that circle of people, because some people will say you can't do that in New York, you can't do that in Atlanta, you can't do it in LA. I think you got to just find those pocket of people. Yeah, you can, because I've worked with numerous people that are.
It also, I think another thing too is like, stop being so with all of us. Sometimes too, it's like, you got to stop being so fucking particular. Like, you know, a lot of the times the people who you might find that with aren't people who are the easiest to hang, or like, you might not naturally be around these people. Right. You might have to literally go and be in other pockets and other communities and other, like, and that's just part of the barrier, I feel like, sometimes, to finding these people. Yeah. Like, you know, it sucks that it's that way, but it's the best. We're sitting here talking about a Quentin Tarantino movie. Everybody in that movie wasn't white, right? Right. Okay. You know what I mean? You know, sometimes it's like, okay, because now these are different perspectives. And correct. If you have a unified vision, right, but different perspectives, but that's nice. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like we get caught up in, it's all one perspective, one vision, but it's also one perspective. No perspective, so right? Yeah, you can't get caught up in that. You'd be, you know, it's an unfortunate way of thinking. Yeah, if you do that. Exactly. You know, because this business and the connections and the rules and the resources are so vast. The access to the resources may not be, but right. You know, but when you have the opportunity to, and you've been able to work before and with certain producers and directors, don't take that for granted. That's fact. You know, and be okay with stepping into other areas and step into other arenas, and still show up as yourself. You know, but you don't have to like feel as if, well, if I can only get in this way. Yeah, no. Because you're comfortable with, this is what I know. This is what I know. That's why that's what I'm saying. I feel people fall victim to that. It's just, this is what I know. This is the way it usually gets done. But it's like, no, it's a real big world. There's a lot of different people, and there's a lot of, you know, and there's the more, and I can be a victim of loving to stay in my comfort zones too, you know, but. In the long run, as I get older, the more I realize, I'm like, man, everybody's just a door to this insane network, right? That you aren't tapped into, right? And each person has this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, and then some people really utilize theirs, so then that's even better. That's even better, but right? Yeah. It's like it's not. Yeah, but you know that could be the person who's literally 2 seats down at the bar, who's like gonna end up being but you just never said, oh man, hey, what's up? Pacers going crazy, right? Right. You just didn't do it. You shouldn't do it. Right. And they're like, yeah, well, you know, the conversations goes into something else. Like, it starts off with the Pacers, and then next thing you know, what you do, man? Oh man, oh yeah, well, I'll be working on the ball. Well, you should come by on Thursday. Okay, yeah, cool. You go by on Thursday. You're like, no, this nigga got a studio. He made it seem like he working out the garage. He in Sunset and Gower. Right. Like, oh, shit. Oh, shit. Oh, okay. You never know. You never know. You don't take again, but that also goes back to the other point of being aware and open in life. Even that example of, I'm at a bar, and yes, I know sometimes everybody's not the most talkative, you know, and I'm not saying to just chum up everybody, but there are moments, I think, that you can feel energetically where it's just, sometimes let it happen. You don't know. Yeah. You know, don't cut yourself off and stifle yourself from being able to experience life in a very genuine and sincere way, but also what life has to offer you when you do take a chance and just be open, you know, and step outside of your comfort zone. Yeah. You know, go in some different environments, meet some new people. Try some new. The way I always look at it, I'm like, well, I'm not sitting over here going, whoa, I need to slow down with all this money coming in my account. So since I'm not saying that,
right? Since that's not the
maybe I should
conversation.
keep trying different tactics.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Maybe, hey, if I've been going here every Friday for the last 10 years, 15 years,
right?
Then maybe I should try going
somewhere else. Right. Other places got beer and liquor.
Other places got shit too.
They got shit going on too. So
But man,
Yeah.
what are you excited about next? What's next on the docket?
I love those questions. What's next on the docket is whatever God got planned. I'm out here living, and I'm out here in the world just moving, bro. I think that you know, I'm open. I stay open. One of my mantras every day, one of my daily mantras, I'm open and receptive to all good. I'm open and receptive to all good, and that's across the board, from life in and of itself to, you know, business to my career, everything. I'm open, man. Like, right. I know stuff is coming. I know stuff is stuff that I've worked on is in the mix, and you know, it's just there. So, you know, but also, I might say, well, I got something going to come out next thing I know, that thing go left, and I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm in this moment right now. I love it. I respect it. I honor it. I cherish it. I relish in it. This moment right here is the greatest. I'm good. You know what I mean? So, like, what next is me? I'm about to go to the beach, and I'm about to, you know what I'm saying? And about to get some sun and be next to some water and chill. And that's, to me, that's the greatest. That is the greatest next step.
I love that.
Yeah.
Man. Well, thank you for taking the time, man.
Bro.
This was fun. I'm glad we reconnected.
Oh yeah, and we're gonna connect again and
again. For sure.
And again.
For sure.
You got my support.
Thank you.
And again, I'm happy and proud for what you're doing, fam. And I'm happy to be working with you again in any capacity. We're gonna work, and we'll work across and continue to do that, big each other up, and we're gonna see where life takes us, because we're not done. We got shit to do.
We got a lot to do. And we out, y'all.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.